My final project is writing an annotated bibliography with social media. The research paper. Oftentimes a culmination of weeks of labored learning, oddly enough, the process of writing usually starts here, at the writing stage, only to abruptly stop halfway through because the writer is stumped. At this point, frustration settles in as the writer realizes she doesn't actually know enough to finish the task. Therein lies arguably the biggest obstacle with writing a research paper, the research itself. Although usually a useful precursor to writing a research paper, many students do not understand why or how to write an annotated bibliography, and this results in an unduly labored writing process. This doesn't have to be the case. Essentially, the annotated bibliography lays a foundation for effective writing by functioning as a bridge between intangible ideas and tangible products, between not knowing enough and being able to formulate a strong, cohesive, and meaningful argument supported by literature. Ideally, through this design, learners will gain a deeper and more personalized understanding of the annotated bibliography. They will learn how to not only become well versed in their topic, and also how to determine the strength and relevancy of a source before jumping into the writing stage. High school freshmen are ideal for this design as they most likely have never done an annotated bibliography or a research paper before. Introducing them to the former may likely set a strong foundation for students to adopt and adapt the appropriate tools and habits for tackling the latter later on in their academic careers. Padlet will serve as the headquarters where learners will view and interact with lesson components, classmates, and instructors. Through comments and posts, learners will exchange formal and informal knowledge. This capitalizes on Vygotsky's social learning theory, which states that situating learning in a collaborative and social environment increases skill compared to learning alone. Instructors can then use this student interaction and feedback to adjust the lesson for future classes. Learners will also use Google Slides and folders, YouTube, and Venngage to collect information, create an annotated bibliography, and to share artifacts for future classes. A sequential three-step process, this design calls for learners to first engage with the material in a way that is personal, then see what the material is, and finally apply the material to a novel situation. Each of these outcomes includes specific targets and assessments that call for individual and collaborative work. A part of the engaging outcome, the first target is contextualization. Using real-life models, learners must critically examine the structure and purpose of the annotated bibliography. Learners do this by watching an instructional video and reviewing a complete annotated bibliography. Ideally, both are artifacts from previous cohorts. If not, they are designed by the instructor. The video and bibliography examples are loaded on Padlet where students can comment and post multimedia responses. At the end of this module, students will work in groups to review and correct an incomplete annotated bibliography on Google Documents. Learners will also select a topic and begin collecting sources to be saved on Google Drive folders. Target achievement occurs when a student can successfully identify and describe components of an annotated bibliography. The target of the second outcome is discernment. Here, using pre-selected annotations loaded on Padlet, learners will begin exploring descriptive and evaluative annotations and how both can be used to help the writer determine how sources strengthen a paper's argument. In groups, learners will practice reading a source and distilling it into core facts that can be translated into cohesive annotations. In this stage, learners will begin annotating their own sources and commenting on classmates' annotations through Google Documents. Target achievement occurs when learners can clearly and thoughtfully articulate how and why a given annotation support or doesn't support an argument. Secondly, learners must demonstrate if a given annotation effectively relays the point of a source. The final target is skills, the aim of which is for learners to document their journey for future reference. Learners do this by collaborating either on an infographic or a YouTube video. The infographic is for the current class to use as a reference and the video for future classes. Although both will serve as how-tos, the YouTube video especially is meant to narrate learners' process from idea to finished product. This activity calls for collaboration and mastery of the material enough to design a concise and compelling introductory artifact that beginners can use. As an assessment, learners will collate their own annotations to create a final annotated bibliography for their chosen topic. Target achievement is based on the successful integration of instructor and peer feedback into this final bibliography. The strengths of this design are that this is a connectivist process that is centered on students' experiential learning. It is also a creative exploration of how informal interests can coincide with formal learning. Third, it is a social activity that is grounded in continuous feedback, not only in a given class, but theoretically from class to class through YouTube videos. And finally, this design encourages research engagement, which study shows is lacking among adolescents. By anchoring research in social media, it is possible that this will be easier for adolescents to digest and relate to. The limitations are that this design relies on various assumptions about collaboration and feedback. This design assumes that face-to-face communication will translate to an online setting such as Padlet or Google. It requires participation from all learners, but some may be reluctant to join in. This design also assumes that students will respond appropriately to peer feedback and that they will give appropriate feedback, which may not be the case. Creating the artifacts also demands a high level of group cohesion that may not exist, particularly for younger learners. Compared to the midterm, I took a different approach to this final in that rather than building a design around a specific social media tool or tools, I created a design and then inserted the social media as needed to reach my objectives. Thus, this iteration was more design-centered. Using the Schwartz and Hartman model, I focused on specific targets and outcomes. These connections helped me construct a more sequential and interconnected design. Thank you for watching.